for the record, I think Detective March is in the lead to be the leader.
Welcome to The Story Thinker, a Webtoons and Witcher podcast for superfans with scene-by-scene analysis. Featuring sharp co-hosts for a fuller picture, we dive deep into character psychology, relationships, and theories. We'd love it if you could like, subscribe, comment, and rate us on all podcast platforms and social media. For bonus content, you can support The Story Thinker on Patreon. Let's begin.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 117 of Purple Hyacinth. And we are here with Emily and Lily.
Hi.
Awesome. And there's going to be, once again, so much of this episode because I feel like Soph makes the longest episodes, and it's awesome. It's like a treat.
Yeah, this is 3 episodes and an especially long
season.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Soph, for all your hard work.
Oh my God, bless them.
Yep. All right. Emily, take it away.
Okay. So episode 117. So it starts with a panel of Lauren looking a little bit lost. Her and the other officers are on their patrol throughout the city, and we start to hear Lauren's inner thoughts. The people are getting angry, both at us and at the court. We've been running after the phantom scythe without results for so long. And in the protest, you can see like these different slogans: end the curfew, will nothing change? This is not working. 10 years in fear, do not give in to fear. This has gone on long enough. And then her thoughts continue. And the nobles have been egotistical for even longer than that. And
that's interesting because I don't think she's ever thought like that. This is the first time we're hearing a thought about like class distinction. I think that, we know that Kieran talked to her about class distinction in one of the previous episodes, 𝗏𝗏𝗱 whatever, but I think this is the first time that she's ever thought along those terms, which means she must have been doing, assumably, like she must have been doing some thinking, like introspection about it since he talked to her and since this whole thing has been going on.
I mean, it sounds like it, but also at the same time, she's extraordinarily close with her godfather, Dakan. I don't know how anybody says his name. Dakan. And so I wonder, like, he's very verbal, at least with, I think, Tristan and possibly Kieran, about how kind of frustrated he is with the court and things like that. So it makes me wonder if that's something that kind of comes up on their calls. Like court and things like that. So I feel like Lauren might, like, even though we haven't seen it before, like the inner workings of her mind and how she feels about it, I feel like he might have been like bringing that up before.
It's also funny to me that she doesn't identify as a noble herself, even though she probably is part of that upper class. But she's like, no, that's not me.
My own mansion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, her parents were well connected. I think that she just doesn't see herself as part of that class because she might be like monetarily belong to that class, but I don't think ideologically she does.
No, I think she just identifies as like always as a police officer, like a servant to the public.
And then we get a panel of, I guess, a police officer posting the new rules and regulations around the city. And I went back to check, and so the new regulation is there's a new curfew. No one can be out past 10 p.m. I think, without valid reasons, and there'll be increased police presence day and night anywhere in public.
So checkpoints, I think, right? I think that we talked about checkpoints.
And so the people are rightfully very anxious about this. And then she continues, perhaps what the Snapdragon tried to do a decade ago is about to repeat itself. Which I agree with you, Mindy. I feel like that's something that is a new thought Lauren is starting to have now, where she's starting to, I guess, look objectively at all of the different groups instead of just maybe being a blind servant to the royals or the institutions. And then she continues, however, this time it's not a pacifist group who's getting increasing support. So again, I think that shows, Lauren is really like on the ground now, hearing the people's worries, especially about these new regulations and their relationship to the royals.
It really is a change for her because previously she was just obsessed with uncovering what happened with Dylan and the phantom scythe because she knows the phantom scythe caused that thing with Dylan. But like as she's learned so much more over the last couple of months, her worldview has expanded, and she's like noticing what's going on around
Oh,
her.
hugely. Well, do you guys remember? It's, I mean, I think it's episode, I would have to go back and check, but it's like one of the first couple episodes was that there's that big protest in the square, and she like, you know, kind of like, I makes eye contact with Kieran, and you can tell that her attitude and view on like air quotes protest is completely, totally different.
Oh, definitely. And I think too, earlier, she used to have the mindset of like, who could support like a group against the royals, or who could support, you know, the 𝗵𝘀𝗃 or maybe even Snapdragon. But now she's like, oh, people are supporting this, and here's reasons why.
Yeah. It's just great writing to see. So how she's really changed. I remember one of the best pieces of writing I started out hating, because it was this novel about a teenager, and she was so unlikable at the beginning of this novel. She was like, she didn't know what she wanted with her life. She was totally unfocused. She didn't have a backbone. She didn't have any personality. She didn't have any like goals in life. And by the time I got to the end, which was like her development over a whole year, she was mature, she was decisive, she was like, she knew what she wanted, she was going after it. And I was like, oh, it was intentional. The author was showing me how she went from this to that.
Yeah,
and I was like,
oh,
real brilliant. I was like, wow.
Love like solid character development. Love it. And so back to Lauren, there's a lot of noise around her, and it seems like a lot of like frenetic or chaotic energy around her, and she's starting to sweat a little bit, and this woman comes up asking, is everything going to be all right? And Lauren says, ma'am, we're doing our best to ensure everyone's security. And then other people keep coming up to all of the officers saying, what is going on? Sir, please calm down, let me explain. They're talking to the crowd, I guess trying to control the crowd a little bit. And Kim says, the situation is crazy in the streets right now. Everyone is freaking out. Will says, especially the nobles. I heard many are leaving the city, just like after the train station tragedy, which I thought was interesting that they already, I don't know, there's like an exodus of royals or of the noble class already. You know, I guess like something.
I mean, if you want to talk about privilege,
exactly.
You're able to leave your living situation for another living situation.
So, I
And
mean,
they just keep ignoring the problems in the city,
Yes,
which we've seen before with the royals and the other noblemen.
Well, I'm sure like 10 years ago with the train station, like I'm sure that only helped to fuel the numbers that helped to grow the Phantom Scythe.
Oh,
when
yeah.
people were seeing the nobles literally fleeing their own city instead of banding together to help
Yeah, exactly.
rebuild the city, you know, after such a tragic event. So, I mean, this is only further fuel on the fire for a revolution.
Oh, exactly. 100%. And then back to Lauren. So she is walking through the protest. Her heart is beating really fast. There's this really strong chaotic energy around her. She seems to be losing it a little bit, sweating, maybe starting like the beginning of a panic attack. And so finally she starts to stumble a little bit. She's very, very far behind the other police officers. It doesn't seem like she can catch up. Her head is hurting, and only Will seems to notice. And then Lauren kind of runs off into an alley, probably to catch her breath for a little bit. But Will notices
against the wall and not faint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Try to like catch her breath. And he shouts, Officer Sinclair, but she can't hear him. And he says, Sergeant Liddell, cover me, please. I will go check on Officer Sinclair. No need to carry on.
This guy, I mean, like, we'll see it throughout the episode, but he is so responsible and reliable. I mean, this man, he's like a treasure. He's
also so much more perceptive than people give him credit for, because we always like to point out like how perceptive like Lauren and especially Kim. I mean, Kim is sharp as a tack and she notices things before everyone else, but I feel like we don't give Will enough credit. I feel like he's always thinking of other people, which is his downfall because he doesn't think of himself.
I think like with every trait, it's both can be your greatest and your worst as well.
Exactly.
I really think that.
Yeah. So he's very perceptive to other people's
needs, emotional needs.
And needs, emotional needs.
He would be a fantastic husband. Like,
he would.
Just
not gonna lie. I want to marry Kieran. Will would be a great husband. Like, what would, okay, that game, fuck, marry,
Husband in
kill, I
waiting.
feel like it would be the like, sorry for the language, fuck Kieran, marry well.
Oh,
I mean, no,
Kill
I'm
Herman?
gonna marry
I don't know.
Kieran.
Herman.
No, well, not Herman. I don't know. It's gotta be a
I
reason.
know you like Herman, but we can.
I don't like Herman. I just don't dislike him that much. You know,
Mhm.
like he's not evil. He just has like a nasty personality. You know. But yeah, I'm totally marrying Kieran because Will is the loveliest boy on planet Earth. But
I'm
I
gonna marry
like a little spice in my relationship.
Yeah, Mary
Even
Kieran.
Marry Kieran.
Yeah.
even if
Mary
it
and fuck are the same. It's Kieran.
Yeah, no, I'll take the spice, even if it comes with like trauma and arguments, because I'd rather that than someone who's just like so sweet and nice and kind.
Oh, we don't want
How it
boring.
is.
I know. And then you might worry like you're pushing them over if they're too nice.
We don't want to push over.
Right. So he says, yeah, no need to worry, squad carry on. And I thought like the look on Kim's face, it reminded me when she thought Lauren had died in the factory fire. Like she just seems so worried about Lauren, even though she can't, you know, maybe express it, which Will says in a little bit later. But I thought that face, the look on her face was like, I'm worried for my friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Will runs off to find Lauren, and he grabs her. Come, Lauren, we're taking a small break.
Also, I have a question. His uniform looked green in that panel where he's running, but I know it's blue, no?
Oh, it does look green a little
bit. It does look green in that light, but I thought they were navy. I thought
too.
Yeah.
I like green. It's pretty, but yeah, let's assume it's a light.
Their uniforms change color. They're on a timer.
Yeah, maybe it's because he got his, promotion. Maybe.
And she kind of winces. He probably hurt maybe, or like touched maybe something tender on her arm. And he says, sorry.
That's the arm she got shot.
Oh, it is? Oh, right.
Yeah, that's her left arm.
He says, sorry. And she says, I'm sorry, Will. I just had a moment of, and she kind of tapers off. And Will says, I've been watching you since the start of the shift. I'm worried for you. You don't look well at all. This is too soon for you.
Oh, so caring.
I know, he really
and beautiful. He is really stunning.
He really cares about his friends.
His eyes are like violet. They're like violet.
So gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Kieran's like amazing personality notwithstanding, Will's looks happen to be my favorite looks, like blonde and blue eyes.
Well, we know you like blonde.
I know, from Quincy.
Yes. My husband, yes.
Your
the whole country of Holland.
Your type is well known, Mindy.
Yes. Sorry. A little embarrassing, but yes.
And Lauren says, I'm all right, Will, don't worry. I've rested for 2 weeks and I'm okay now. So I guess also a little bit of time has passed already.
So what date are we at?
No, it's the same day as the last episode. This is her first day back at work, but she came back after 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay. After the accident. I also was wondering, but
okay. Because wasn't there one line where it said, oh, I've been off for 10 days or something? So is she just lumping in until like I've basically been off for, because I was trying to figure out
maybe
where
yeah, I'm gonna assume that. Because at some point he says like it's your first day back or something. I think so.
I think it is
the first day.
I
think. Oh yeah, because she says later that Herman followed her that morning.
So that's right.
Later that day.
That's the same day.
You're right. So he grabs her mask off her face and says, I wouldn't be so sure about that. You're as pale as a ghost and you look like your head was killing you. She says, and then he interrupts her a little bit and says, it's okay to be scared, which, well, into the development, like the development of Will in this episode. Not that he hasn't been like this before.
The therapist for everybody in this.
I agree, because this is, as much as we've known that Will was kind, I think this is the most loquacious he's been about feelings and the most open he's been about feelings. So I'm kind of hoping that he can now take this like newfound emotional profundity and apply it to himself.
We can only hope and pray,
right?
Like he could treat himself as nicely as he's treating Lauren now.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I was really into how in this episode, which we'll see in a few minutes, but like how he's allowing himself to break a little bit and open up, you know, about his feelings. I really enjoyed it. She says, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Loud noises, crowds, people shouting. I've seen you getting progressively unnerved since we met with the protest. It used to be like this for me too, you know, after the Allendale explosion. I would get terrified at any remotely loud noise. It took me months to get over it. And you've just been through an explosion for the second time." So I also really appreciate too how he's laying out the fact that she has been through traumatic events, and even if you've rested for 2 weeks,
It's not enough. No, absolutely not.
it's not that long. Trauma does not just last 2 weeks and then you're over it. No.
It takes time, and it's almost a repeat trauma. It's another explosion, like, and then of course the second trauma is going to trigger the first trauma, and you're just going to be reliving both.
Right. And so her just resting for 2 weeks isn't going to cut it at all, I think. Yeah. So she goes, "I know, I do feel fine most of the time, and I don't want to draw more attention to myself by not being up to task even on my half days."
Very Lauren. Lauren is a tough cookie. She's a hard worker. She's very disciplined. She's like very into doing the right thing, which is something I really admire about her.
I feel Lauren so hard on this panel because I'm the exact same way. Like, I hate it when I don't appear strong or not fine, and I don't like to let other people help me. And when people point it out, I'm like, no, I'm really fine most of the time. Like, I'm really fine. Like, yes, I'll have the occasional mental breakdown. 99% of the time, I'm perfectly fine. And then it takes hitting rock bottom to realize.
I know, between my husband and I, we're no longer allowed, like, if something's bothering us or we're upset about something or we're going through something, we're not allowed to tell each other like, I'm fine. We're supposed to say, I'm feeling bothered about X. Yeah. And that's much better, I think, than just saying I'm fine all the time, because I used to do that all the time and still do sometimes.
Yep.
She says, "Herman's on my back again." And Will goes, "Herman?" Lauren says, "He followed me this morning to expressly tell me that he doesn't believe the car accident story and heavily imply he's intending to find the truth."
Oh, thanks.
Will goes, "Lauren, look, none of this matters more than you do."
Will. My heart is just continuing to melt.
He's such a good boy. I love him.
I think this is the most screen time we've had on Will since an episode with his father. I
know Will seems very, I don't want to say very manly in this episode, but he feels very grown up, very mature in this episode.
Yes.
We're seeing a grown up Will. He goes, "Herman's got more than enough to deal with right now than nitpicking the details of your alibi. You need to take care of yourself before your body forces you to take a leave of absence, which isn't even a bad idea."
Okay, so after I did a reread, I was realizing, do you think that she will take a leave of absence? Do you think this is setting something up for her to take a leave of absence so that she can do more with Kieran / 𝗵𝘂𝗃𝗃?
I don't think so, because I think that her activities at the APD will be needed, especially since the ball is coming up and I believe she's gonna serve security on it. So
she didn't volunteer for the ball, but she is supposed to serve security at the Mirage Opera.
Right, that's what I meant. But it could also be that she'll decide to volunteer for the ball. But yeah, I don't know. But I feel like she'll.
Well, I think she needs to be infiltrated with Kieran, right? Didn't they talk about it?
Yeah. That's true. I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I could maybe see her taking a leave of absence now that you say it. You know, as a way.
Well, it would also explain why she's in that cave. In the forward where she's meeting with Nayra.
Oh, right.
She's taking a leave of absence, and she's
chilling in the game. She could go there anytime. I don't know if she's leaving absence.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a theory. It could conveniently get her out of ADP suspicion.
Oh, definitely.
She's not in the limelight there.
She goes, "I know, Will," but he starts to say, "I'm just very worried for you. In the last few days," and then he steps forward, and it seems very solemn. "We thought you had died."
In big letters, and you see the agitation in his eyes. He's finally talking to her about his feelings. I got the impression when they met, And you know, when they went to her house and got all the details, like they didn't really discuss the emotional implications of how they
No, it was
felt.
just the facts. They were just discussing the fact. They just wanted to know what the hell had happened.
Yeah, and
how
that
it
she was
happened,
alive.
how she was
Yeah.
alive. But no, you're right, Mindy. They didn't get to any of the emotional aspect of it whatsoever. And like that has needed to come up. That needs to come up. And I think even, was it the last episode where Kim says something like Lauren's back at the office and she's being like greeted by everybody and everybody's happy to see her, and she says something like there's still so many things left to be said.
Yeah,
I think that's a part of it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if like on the street is like the best place to discuss this, but you know, whatever, it's coming out. So
Bring it on.
I think that was the end of my part.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Yeah, and he says gone, or at least severely injured, God's nowhere. And he said, I tried my best to stay composed and rational, but Kim, she was so scared that she was literally losing it. Aww, which is, you know, something we were discussing with, like, we're like, oh, where's their emotional reaction? Like, we didn't get enough of it. So we're kind of getting it after the fast pass.
Yeah.
So it's Inspirational made a really good video about how the fact that like you have to have, they released the fast pass and like they kind of had to wrap up a bunch of stuff, and the fast pass episodes made like some things not be resolved fully. So we're kind of getting that addressed now.
They can only do so much to get past this part of the storyline.
Right. And I wonder, like, the look on Lauren's face, I wonder if she's almost surprised at Will opening up this much about what him and Kim had gone through when they thought she had like perished in the factory. I feel like she's seen, just like us, she's seen a new side of Will, maybe.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. And he says she's hiding it because she knows you have enough on your plate, which that's kind of sad. I don't know, you know, like, you're good friends, you should be able to like talk about these things with each other. I don't know. I get it. I mean, it's nice to
give it time though, you know, maybe she just wanted to give it time. I don't know. I just think that, I think if it was the case that just Lauren had gone through this and not Kim and Will, it would be one thing, like she would need to open up and talk to them. But since all three of them have gone through this trauma, it's hard. It's hard to open up and talk to somebody about your trauma when you feel like you're just kind of piling things onto like their own baggage, you know, and their own trauma. So I think that maybe she would have opened up more if Kim wasn't dealing with her own thing. And I think that we actually did see Kim dealing with the situation. I mean, we saw her sitting with the therapist, even though that therapist was mandatory or whatever, we do see that. And then we see her, was it the episode before, the one before, where she's having all of those hallucinations and those flashbacks and dreams about Lauren and shooting Lauren, and she's at the shooting range and she kind of has a freak out. Like, I went back and reread that episode, and I see that as her having an internal, you know, losing it. We don't see her crying hysterically. We don't see her, quote, losing it in the ways that we would see somebody losing it visibly on the outside, but I saw that as her losing it on the inside.
Oh, totally.
And he says, Kim had guessed you were moving for a good while, and I've had my own suspicions. But when I saw how she reacted when the factory exploded, I understood that she knew for sure that it was you. And Laura is just listening and says, and my heart broke. Oh, well. Baby. And then he like, oh my gosh. And then like his face just like contorts, and he's like, the possibility that you just be gone. And like, he looks like he's like about to cry. Oh, he's like, just like that. And he's like, you know, snaps his fingers. And
did you guys notice the parallel with that and Kieran?
The snapping the fingers?
Yeah, just that, or like saying gone, just like that. Because
That?
whenever, you know, remember whenever he and Lauren were basically at death's door, like laying on the floor of his apartment, and he's talking about why he uses a sword and not guns. And he said, you know, if you shoot a gun, lives are so meaningless. And he goes, the hand was so similar, and it said just like they're gone, like that.
That's such a great comparison.
It was, yeah. As soon as I saw that, just like the hand, like so far he does hands so well, and then the comparison to just like a life being gone in a split of a second.
That's great. Oh, and now he flashes back to, you know, they're so cute. baby Lauren, baby Dylan, baby Will, and I think that's Raphael, right? The teenager.
Okay, so my first read through, this is super embarrassing. I was reading through it and I was tired. My brain was not connecting it. I went, damn, Stephen Hawk's looking fine AF as a young man.
Cute.
And then I realized, yeah, no, that's Raphael.
Stephen is still handsome. I maintain to this day, I've not seen a single ugly person in the entire
Well,
piece.
there's not an ugly person in the costume, but I mean,
except for the butler. But
except
whatever.
for the butler
Except for the
and Lady A. Well, whatever.
She's normal. Like, she's not ugly. She's just not like, I mean, her character is obviously.
I hate her
yeah.
so much that it just, my hate makes it.
No, you're right. Even with the character that we meet later in this episode, I was just thinking, how is everyone so hot?
Every single person. But yeah, no, that's Raphael. That is not Stephen.
They look like him. I mean, they for sure look like him.
I mean, they do, but like he would have aged super dramatically in 10 years.
Yeah, so they're very adorable, and he's like, "Don't you dare disappear too." And then there's just baby Will all by himself.
I hope that's not foreshadowing, people.
No, but she's the main character. She can't die.
No, maybe she dies. We don't know.
I'm one of those hopeful, like, optimists. Like, everything turns out good in the end. Don't know.
Well,
no one dies.
I hope so. Not some premonition.
No, this is just what he was fearing. It didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I don't want to be the only one left from our childhood memories.
Oh, the tears. Oh, gutted. I am gutted.
Oh my gosh. And the next thing that happens, thank God, because Lauren looks like just so sympathetic to him. And then she goes and she hugs him, and it's exactly what he needed. Oh my God, this man needed a hug for like the whole story. Oh my God.
All 117
The man
episodes.
has just needed some touch for 117 episodes.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
No, his aides aren't giving him hugs, so I mean, gotta get hugs somewhere.
And I always think it's a good reminder too that he was also friends with Dylan, and they share a lot of childhood memories and relationships.
Yes, no, I mean,
like,
this is bringing
it's
out
not
such an interesting side of Will, because I mean, I keep forgetting that they all knew each other and grew up together, because there was that one episode where he had dinner with his father and said something like, you know, I didn't like, basically at some point, I think Lauren said like, oh, you know, your dad didn't want you hanging out with us because of, hanging out with Dylan because he was like, you know, or whatever, not a noble or whatever. But it sounds like they did spend a good amount of time together and grow up together. And you forget that Will lost him too, because we're so focused on Lauren and her entire drive of the story is finding Dylan, finding what the heck happened to Dylan, and then, you know, bending death, and we forget about Will. Like Will lost
100%.
I mean, Will didn't lose his mind and have a murder board and like, you know, a webtoon series about his obsession, but he lost him too.
Yeah, well, he reacts differently. I think he's, you know, passive and more of a defeatist, and he doesn't think that he deserves, you know, more. But Lauren's like stubborn and, you know, goes after him.
He's also more of a realist. Like Will
that
is
true.
very much more of a realist.
And I think like the path was set for Will by his family, so he just never saw anything to detour from that, you know, like his path was set at a very young age. And I think it maybe affected Lauren in a different way.
Well, some people, you know, I thought about this a lot because you know, my siblings and I, right, like we all grew up in the same house and we all chose very different paths, and I'm like, they're rebel, like I changed from how I grew up. And you know, my brothers, well, one did and one didn't, and the other like halfway, but like, yeah, it's the same experience, but people react differently. And because of their inherent personalities, also their family, I'm sure Lauren was raised differently, and Will seems to have been raised in an atmosphere of fear, and Lauren was probably raised with encouragement and, you know, do whatever you want, be independent and go your way. But it's also inherent personality. I could stare at this hug forever, by the way. It's like, it's so healing, hugs. And you were someone, just a physical touch. Necessary. Human beings need that.
And I also just love seeing not only their friendship, but like platonic friendship touch that's not romantic and not sexual.
Oh, same. Yeah.
Like, I love seeing that because I feel like we get it so rarely, especially in webtoons, because 90% of webtoons is, you know, they're great, like, you know, but they're just romance focused, and you don't see a lot of like platonic, you know, friendships, and especially not scenarios like this where there's hugging and things like that, which are therapeutic and supportive, and it's just so nice to see.
Yep. Oh, I love it. But yes, and she says, I won't, will, I promise. And that is the end of that part. And then we have
okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, so it continues on from there. And then we hear clack, clack, some heels on the cobblestone. And we see the back of this figure with a blue coat and a red hat. And I immediately thought of Peggy Carter from Marvel. And then we see a sign, Mirage Opera House, which I don't know about you guys, I am psyched for a new setting. So excited about this.
It's a good tie-in also, because she's walking through the protest.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so yeah, she's walking through the protest, and we see her push open the doors, and it looks like it's a pretty elaborate building, like it's a really nice fancy opera house. And we see a woman who looks like she probably works there, and she says, oh, you're right on time. Miss Starks injured herself. We need a replacement for the play. And I was messaging Emily about this, but the fact that this new mystery person looks just like Agent Carter, and then she says Miss Starks. I'm like, we're getting some Marvel references.
I know. I was like,
can you explain this, because I don't know what you're talking about. I don't watch this stuff.
Oh, Monday. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't even explain it. You're just really have to start from Iron Man 1, which is like 14 years ago, and then Tony Stark is Iron Man.
Yeah, I've heard the name Tony Stark.
And then his wife. Yeah, there's a whole, but Agent Carter, it's a whole thing. But Agent Carter's really, really good.
Okay.
So she says
like that lady.
So Marvel might have entered the
Marvel might have entered the chat. We don't know. So please contact us.
The universes might be colliding.
And she says, we need a replacement for the play. Since you wrote the script, we thought you'd be the best to play the character. I'm so sorry for the extra trouble, Miss Green. So first of all, we finally have a name for this
purple hair.
Blue hair. Pronouns person. That's everybody in the Discord. But also, is she Ardalis's like Lin-Manuel? She writes and both stars in her play.
That's pretty cool. She sounds very cool.
Yeah, right. I'm so intrigued by this character already. Like 3 panels, and I'm obsessed.
Also loving the lip ring. I mean, just everyone's style is
right. So I'm like, yeah, because I feel like this is the type of aesthetic that we have not seen in Ardalis, really. Because I mean, we know Soph and F haven't really set like a very specific time period, but it's very influenced. Like we can kind of guess that it's like early 1900s, like 1920s, with aesthetics and different technologies from different eras, but we can just kind of assume that that's the time period. And so, I mean, we haven't seen anybody with any like weird piercings or tattoos or anything like that. So it's just kind of cool to see.
I know we might be getting our like bohemian artist aesthetic now.
Yes.
So to me, her style, I think, is like 40s, 50s. With the short curly hair.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, if you
totally
watch Agent, if you watch Agent Carter, Mindy, it's set in the 1940s. Like she's, so she's kind of like a spy, like for both sides. It's super cool. So yeah, it's set in the 40s. And so it scrolls down, and she goes, "Of course." And oh my God, this panel.
Yes, she's beautiful.
Stunning. I mean, her hair is brown, but it's like hints of
highlights.
And he's got the lip ring and a fucking cigar, not a cigar. This woman has the confidence to smoke a full-blown cigar.
Yeah, she is incredible.
Her eyes are gorgeous.
Her eyes are stunning. She kind of looks like she has a birthmark or something on her forehead.
I think so. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, it's birthmark or burn, or I don't know. I don't know if that'll be relevant or come up whatsoever, but she's just like such an interesting, different looking character. I'm already so fascinated. Soph just does, I mean, she does men well, obviously, but I feel like, especially with characters like this and Bella and like, and Kim and Lauren, like she does women so well. So well. So Miss Green says, I miss acting. It's been a while. So do you guys think she was like a hot actress in Ardallis at one point and then kind of retired and now just script writing? Or what do you think this scenario is?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like what you said.
Yeah, same. I was thinking maybe she, I don't know, maybe she was a popular figure a few years back. And now but then she became a writer, but now she's writing and acting maybe.
But I wonder how she's involved with Sandman.
Oh my god, it would be so awesome. I bet you she's the coolest person ever and is like doing espionage behind the scenes, and she probably can like shoot people, and she's just
well, I hope so. If she looks like Agent Carter, I hope she's doing all of the Agent Carter
like a woman of many talents based on just this one panel we have of her.
I had a theory. Perhaps she is the spy master.
Ooh, that's a good
because
one.
I know that we've had that term thrown around a little bit, and I think some people have guessed that it's like maybe Raphael, which I think is still another solid theory.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But no, if she's like kind of, I don't know. I think that actress/writer would be a really good position for it.
Well, she can act, right? So
yeah.
Oh my gosh, whenever I won't necessarily point to recent events, but whenever celebrities give very emotional speeches, I'm like, they can act, right? Like,
wow. I'm like, that they win awards for this.
Right?
Not that I'm accusing anybody of anything. Ugh. Okay, so we continue on, and then we get a total scene change. It's dark, stone walls, tap, 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 and then it says, "What will we be doing with the 7th? He cannot be trusted. He knows that he's in danger with his ties to the noble spheres. He could even turn to our enemies for protection." And then we see the little bubbles. It's Apostle IV, right? Who's in charge of assassinations and espionage.
By the way, like Purple Hyacinth has me searching Roman numerals.
Oh my god, no, that's why I was like pausing just now. I was like, do I have this right?
I was searching right before this podcast, like, wait, which number is this?
I know, I had to look it up too. It's embarrassing. I feel like I used to know them, I just forgot. And then we have leader, and it says, "He shall be executed at the slightest faux pas." And they're walking through this hallway, and the leader says, "No chances, no compromises. I want our best spies to watch him 24/7. The Viper's reports are to be handed to me directly." And by the Viper, he means the 7th, right?
No, I think he means Bella.
I thought he meant Bella too.
Okay. That would make sense. Okay. And then the 4th says, "What about his alliances? He may think that he is untouchable, but his alliances are far less loyal to each other than we are."
That's interesting. Like for all the �fantom's horribleness, at least they're loyal to each other.
We're one big happy family here in the Phantom side.
Right. Well, except for the fact that they want to like kill 7 off, but okay. His betrayal.
That part.
I just ignore that part. Like have this headcanon where joining the Phantom Scythe is like a pyramid scheme where they really come at you with like all the good things, and before you know it, like you're sucked in.
You're in too deep.
You're in way too deep. It's like joining a cult. Like they have your
very accurate.
Yeah. You have a downline. If you don't meet the deadlines for your downline, like you're just screwed by the end of the month. But I think it's pretty similar. And then the leader says, "His position forces us to keep him around for now, but we will cut his ties one by one. 4th, you were in charge with the 12th. So I went back and reread 114, which is the episode where all of the apostles and the leader are sitting around, and I also checked the Discord. I don't think we saw the 12th or he spoke. I don't know. I didn't see him, but if he was there, he definitely wasn't super visible or spoke. So do we know what he's in charge of?
I don't think so. I haven't.
I don't think so either.
Okay. So
but what do you think it means? We're going to cut his ties. His ties to the nobles? Like his ties to who?
Well, it sounds like financial ties, because in the episode where Ňayra's talking to the queen about Redcliffe and is that ball still happening, and it sounds like there's a lot of I think, dang it, I wish I had gone back and read that one, but didn't Redcliffe have ties to somebody who was also supporting the military, financing the military? So but I mean, it sounds like everybody says that 𝗏𝗏𝗱 is just really popular with both the poor and the noble. So I think he probably just has a lot of business and financial ties, and that could be with all kinds of business.
Mhm.
And then
That's what I thought too, like cutting off his like money supply
yeah,
to make him fall.
Mm.
I wonder if that would have anything to do with the circus too.
Yeah, I'm also trying to figure out what would be the purpose of cutting his ties, because his ties with people, like, it presumably helps the 𝗵𝘂𝗃 get what they want, whether it's funding or like political.
I know, I was thinking about that too, but maybe they want to cut the ties and then rebuild them, like with their
redirect them to like
redirect
members.
them to their own people.
Go
Yeah,
to the others.
Mm.
that way they're not so dependent on 𝗏𝗏𝗱, because maybe. So hopefully we'll figure out who the hell the 12th is and what he's in charge of. And then Apostle IV says, understood. Speaking of our assassins, the purple hyacinth has given us his report. Oh my God, I'm shaking.
Yeah.
So
Like,
nervous.
keep his name out of your filthy mouth.
I know, seriously. Oh my God. Don't talk about my boy like that.
I just realized I was using the same phrasing about this incident that I mentioned that we referred to before. I didn't even realize I was using it. Keep my sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
And he continues, many witnesses have seen Loon carry the bomb right before its explosion in the factory. Although the charred bodies found on site cannot be identified, it is practically certain they are theirs. And then the leader goes, I know, I've seen the police reports. This is sus, y'all. Sus. He's like, oh yeah, I've already seen the reports. Like, old news, Apostle IV, where have you been for the past couple days? Like,
so I guess I want to say we know that the 𝗵𝘂𝗃 has moles in the police department, so it doesn't have to mean that the leader is himself like in the EPD, but you know.
no, but I mean it's sus. Also, like, who do we know?
It's not Herman, okay? It can't be Herman. Herman's not
No,
Herman.
I don't think it's Herman. Okay, I'll get into this later because I have like all my notes here, but we'll
we have theories to discuss later.
Okay.
So yeah, he's like, yeah, I've seen the reports. And the fourth goes, but the purple hyacinth, he's taken a suspiciously long time to uncover their identities. That in addition to all the things he's done to spite us, wouldn't it be safer to get rid of? And then it gets cut off by the leader, and the leader says, I have my own plans for the purple hyacinth. What the fuck, you guys? Oh,
So I mean, I did a reread like a month ago, but I wonder like if this shows just how almost like precarious being in the 𝗵𝘂𝗃 is, because Kieran is their he's the purple hyacinth, he's their #1 assassin, and he has seemingly only sort of failed this one time, and they're already suspicious of him. Because I don't know, like, what else has he done to spite them?
Yeah, I don't know.
well,
either.
I don't think we've seen that yet.
There's
Okay,
maybe
so
more
we
backstory
have
to that.
theories. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's theories. Remember the episode? It was just a couple episodes ago where Kieran's having that whole entire conversation with Bella, and Bella says, I owe you one. I'm not going to forget that. Well, I have a theory that Kieran helped, maybe, I don't know. This is totally out of the blue, but I think maybe Kieran helped 𝗫𝗏 escape after, she got targeted by 𝗏𝗏𝗃 and the 𝗵𝘂𝗃𝗃 or whatever. And so that's why Bella would owe him one, because I can't think of any other scenario where Bella would owe him one. And so remember I think it's in the 50s. I think, I don't know all the episodes by number or name, but where we see that torture scene where, people freak down. They're like, we finally get Kieran shirtless with his hair down, but he's being like, whipped out of. And he's older. He's much older in that flashback compared to all the ones where he's like a teenager or a child. And I feel like that could possibly be linked to them, reprimanding him for like that scenario. Like, hey, you went against us. You helped this person that we were after escape. Like, now we're going to teach you a lesson.
Okay, so there might be like a history of Kieran kind of like pushing back.
Yes.
And then they punish him. Maybe. Okay. That makes sense.
I think so. I think that it could be possibly other events that we just haven't seen yet. Like maybe he was just really rebellious, and that's why. I mean, we still don't know who the protectee was, but maybe he was really rebellious, and that's why they got to that point where they axed.
That's a good point. Yeah.
He's also like very snarky to all the messengers. Like he always has attitude for them. I think
Yeah, he's snarky.
Oh, there's that too, right?
Yeah, like the one in the confessional. He's like, wonderful. Another mission already. This is great. Yeah, he's super snarky. I mean, even when he was putting in the loon report, he was like, "What's the big deal? Like they died anyways."
Still died. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was interesting, because they're suspicious of him, but at least to the readers, we've only seen him sort of mess up this one time. So I was like, why? Like, how are they already suspecting?
I feel like there's more.
There's a backstory.
Yeah, that we're not getting. So yeah, the leader says, I have my own plans for the purple hyacinth, but I will inform you in time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That nobody else knows, presumably. Like if the fourth doesn't know, we can just presume that nobody knows the plan.
It's just the leader.
For the purple hyacinth and the leader. And the fourth goes, I would still advise caution with him. I mean, the fourth really like has some beef with Kieran here. Like the
fourth seems like a psychopath. Sorry.
Yeah,
yeah. The fourth,
like, let's get rid of him now, even though he's our #1 assassin.
No, we can get someone better. Like he's aging. He can only take on 7 assassins
at a time, right?
Yeah, he's aging out. We need to get a new one.
Before we move on from that, what his plans are for Kieran, I'm like, no, don't.
Okay, so I was racking my brain. I was making all my notes for this, and I could not come up with like what is his plan for him. And then I was just kind of like, just word vomiting all these theories and things out loud. And my husband's sitting there on his laptop, and he goes, well, maybe the leader is going to use him as a martyr to start the revolution. But I wrote that down too. I was like, wait, what?
But why would that start the revolution? Because everyone, our Hollis hates the purple hyacinth. Who would revolt if he died? Like, who would care? Everyone would be like, yes, finally, the terrorizer of our city is dead.
No, basically like setting up some kind of scenario where Kieran is forced to kill a royal or do something publicly. You know what I mean? And then that's it. Like, that's the end of him, and it starts the revolution.
Yeah, so I was on a similar page. I was thinking, like they're sort of setting up Kieran to take the fall for something and then rush in, like push in everything else with the revolution. Yeah, I thought Kieran was definitely like a martyr. Like killing him, I don't know if that's really. If we like keep that a secret. If the leader,
my Kieran Simpery aside, my love for Kieran, I really hope he doesn't die, just because I really just can't stand when heroes die. Like whenever it's basically like a martyr to basically what's the phrase I'm trying to think of here? Like basically that's how they turn their lives around, or
redeem themselves.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's how they redeem themselves, is through death. And I mean, I just don't like that trope. I'm not a huge fan of it. It works sometimes, I think, with villains, but we know Kieran's not a villain.
Yeah.
So
please don't die.
Just not.
No.
If the leader wants to die as a then sure, whatever. So I don't know. I think that's the closest theory I have to whatever the leader's plan is for the purple hyacinth. He's clearly got things set in motion where he's holding on to Kieran and using Kieran for some big
for something
and a final showdown. Like because I mean, clearly, like the fourth is saying, like, dude, this dude's fucking up. Like, just get rid of this guy. We got tons of people in our squad. Like, get a new assassin here. And he's like, no, I have plans for him. So, there's that theory that there are people in the PS that are looking out for Lauren. I feel like the leader is looking out for Kieran.
Oh, so interesting. Yeah.
Well, I had this theory from a while back that Kieran, because of the man who laughs. Remember, So my theory was that Kieran is a royal child that was, kidnapped as a kid or whatever. Possibly because Elizabeth wanted to put her own kid instead of him. I don't know, something like that. And so maybe he would like unveil his true identity and then like get into the royal family that way.
It could be. I'll bring up my theory later on, but I have another theory for that later on. But sorry guys, hold on. I have to pause this for just a second. I'll be right back. Okay. I'll be right back.
What are your theories, Emily?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess I was similar to her husband, like what Lily's husband said, that I think Kieran might be a martyr of some kind. Because if they wanted to kill him, they could do that already, I think. He seems very valuable, and we don't know why he's valuable yet to the leader, you know?
Yeah, I have a feeling it has something to do with Kieran himself, like whether it's his identity as a royal person, or maybe I think maybe his relation to the leader. Like I've speculated that before, like he might be the leader's kid. Twisted, but
because we don't know, we haven't gotten the backstory yet on how Kieran was adopted into the purple, or into the organization, right?
No, but it like chronologically with all the flashbacks that we get, it's really interesting because we get these flashbacks when he's really super young and we see him screaming, "You run!" And we see the one that we got recently where he's in that kind of prison looking room, drawing the runes with the feet in the corner or whatever. But then we see this flashback later on, I think it's, is it 54, 58? I can't remember, where he looks like a teenager and he's drawing. Yeah. And, you know, it looks like it's outside, he's painting, and someone asks him like, "Oh, Kieran, why are you always drawing and painting?" And he says, "So that I can capture humanity." But he looks significantly older there than when he was. So I'm confused. I'm like, if he was captured by the Phantom Scythe, like, did he get some degree of freedom, or like he was free to go like, you know, paint in the town square? Like,
that's what I'm thinking.
I'm trying to piece this all together.
Like maybe he had some freedoms as he got older.
Yeah.
Or so they're completely throwing us for a loop, and that is not Phantom Scythe whatsoever in the beginning.
Oh, that would be a shocker.
That would, I mean, it could be some Gray Chapel shit. Like, we don't know. Like that would be a huge throw us for a loop. So I don't know. We'll see.
Wasn't there also like there was another flashback where Kieran he's killing someone when he's younger, and the man says, "Oh, you were that kid," or "You were that boy, you were that kid."
Yeah, that
could honestly relate to Mindy's theory. Like you were that boy, maybe.
I know. Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because we know that he started becoming the PH at, what is it, age 16 or 17? They confirmed. So and that was his first kill. So it was after that. So somehow, that Chandelier Man was involved with his younger. Past. I think that, I mean, my theory is that Chandelier Man had something to do with the protectee, like killed the protectee, or, you know, made Kieran kill the protectee, or we don't know what it is. So he went back and got vengeance. But it's just interesting that it seems like it went forward a time.
No, I don't think Kieran wanted to kill. He didn't want to kill the Chandelier Man. Like, he didn't look angry at him. It was like he very much was forced to kill him.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I don't think that he went for revenge. Like it was an order.
Well, I thought Chandelier Man was the only person that he killed without orders.
No, it seems like it was probably his first kill. Like he looks like he's writing it, and like he can't take that step. And Chandelier Man tells him, "I know you have to do it. Just do it, and like just don't lose your soul in the process."
Interesting. I always assumed that he killed. I mean, that he didn't want to, but he did it just out of vengeance. But that would be super interesting if he did that one under orders, and we still don't know who he killed against orders.
Nice.
But yeah, continuing in the webtoon, it says the leader says the best way to catch a culprit is to make them think they're off the hook. It's the same for 7. I am not foolish enough to entirely trust the purple hyacinth, a man whose life we turned upside down. My heart.
You know, he's being emotionally perceptive, and I don't like it, because I don't.
Well, no, Mindy, because he's being humanized here. We're now.
This episode does.
I feel like that also shows that why he's been an effective leader so far, to like gain all of this support, and that he knows what his people are going through. I mean, to an extent, I guess. And he's self-aware enough to know that they ruined Kieran's life for whenever they adopted him into the organization.
Well, he doesn't even say ruin. He just says we turned it upside down. So
that's true.
I don't know if his version, but
might be like, we saved him.
And his version of events is like, yeah, it's slightly different.
We saved him.
Isn't that really?
Well, he's kind of like half admitting it and half denying it at the same time, because he's like, yeah, I don't trust him because we turned it upside down, because like, meaning like he knows it was negative for Kieran, but like he's still not saying like we ruined his life, because he can't bring himself to say
it's a very like tenuous relationship.
And he says, instead of trying to control them, let them roam free and see where they will betray themselves with too much freedom. Maybe they will lead us exactly where we want them to. Dun, dun, dun.
Which is where?
Yeah, where is Kieran going to lead?
Yeah.
Gosh, this leads into what's her name? 𝗪𝗁𝗰𝗄𝗃, which is like okay, which has a lot of problems in the sense that I don't think that the leader told Kieran to get together. But what if this whole thing, or I don't know if this whole thing, but some part of it is the leader wants this to happen, wants him to get together with Lauren, and maybe he like really knows what's going on behind the scenes and just isn't admitting it, and like for whatever purposes, like he wants all this to happen, and he's just like a mastermind behind the scenes without anyone knowing.
Yeah, there's definitely some problems with the bitch Kieran theory, but I think that, I mean, it's not unplausible. Like
it can't be that he was the one who arranged Kieran and Lauren meet that first night, because
no,
that I don't think is possible. But maybe once it
happened, it
happened,
was too random, and then still with Lauren's liability, like there's just no way.
Yeah,
and Kieran still doesn't know who the leader is. Like
but it's possible that once he found out about it, he wanted to try to work it to his advantage. I don't know. That I think is possible. I don't know how, but
I don't know.
I've been intrigued that Lauren has gone to Kieran's apartment several times, and he's even said like there might always be eyes on my apartment, on me, like walking throughout the city. And I don't know, I would be surprised if no one has caught on to Lauren going into his apartment.
100%. Yes.
No, they've definitely, and of course, like him being the mole at the precinct, like he's not the only mole.
Yeah,
there's other moles. Like they know who Lauren is. Lauren's is like significantly known person. Like, you know, she's the, you know, niece of the head. Yeah, she's the niece of the, you know, head chief of police. And so it's like people know who she is. She's like not a random nobody.
She had the problems with Tim.
𝗪𝗃, yeah.
He was like popping up onto her porch at random hours of the day.
Well, I will later on talk about my theory.
Okay, cool.
Why I think Lauren's protected. Okay. And the fourth says, we've seen it coming for the seventh, but I still cannot believe what he's done. How could he betray us after all this time? And the leader says, greed for power and riches. The destitute dream of it, and the rich only want more. I've been on both sides for long enough to see it devour the hearts of the most virtuous men. The seventh fell for it like so many before him. So confirmation that the leader,
both sides.
So I think that alone could probably tick some people off of the list of
like people who are too poor.
Yeah, if you're too poor, yeah. And he goes, whatever it takes, I will make sure his actions can't harm us any further. I've lost too many to traitors to ever let it happen again. And then, oh, this gets so interesting. We have this, we're presuming that this is the flashback from the leader, and it's almost black and whitish. It's very muted tones, and we're hearing the huff, 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 like heavy breathing. It looks like they're running down the stairs, and then they open up the scene into, it's just completely like, it's the what is it, the right, yeah, it's the Orion like basement, the printer where the massacre happened, and there's blood all over the walls, there's paper all over the floor, the chairs are turned over, and we see like the very tips of the boots of what we're presuming what the leader is, and then looking down on the floor we see this knife, and it's got a little jewel in it, there's blood on the blade, and then it's really difficult, like I was trying to figure out what these letters are, and everybody was kind of trying to figure. I see an A and a P, but don't trust me.
I see that. I can see. I don't know. I see the A also, but I also see an L and then a something else that is not a letter. I don't know.
Yeah, I see the A, but then I don't know what's after it.
Was it? wasn't March's wife Annabelle?
Yes.
Daughter,
Okay.
Annabelle.
Again, Mindy, this will get into my whole theory that I have. But it looks like an A and then like a P or a I'm not sure. Like I know some people were saying like, oh, it's an S and it's Alexander Sinclair. Maybe it could be. I don't know. I don't see the S in there, but
I see if you go that way.
yeah. I don't know. Like I even tried flipping it upside down. I can't figure it out that way. But yeah, so that looks like an A. We don't know what it is, but it looks like that. And then the leader says, I will not let it happen again. So presumably something really, really horrific and horrible happened to somebody that he loved.
Yeah, they got killed. Like he was part of the Snapdragon and like most of them died. So I'm a little, okay, so I've known for a long time that the leader is going to be someone that we're going to have sympathy for. I know that Soph and F are not creating this character to be pure villain. But it's so hard for me to like see him get euthanized, have that like trauma from the Orion son and to like have that like moralistic line about greed and power, because he's done so many bad things to people that we love and care about. And I just like, I don't know.
I mean, you could say the same for Kieran.
Yes, that is true.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, but the only difference is that Kieran is ordered to do it and he doesn't want to do it. And the leader is wanting to do these things and orchestrating things and ordering the Purple Hyacinth to do these things. Okay, so for the record, I think Detective March is in the lead to be the leader. Okay. To the dismay of many. But things are just adding up, you guys. He knew Lauren as a child. He knew her parents from a very young age, and they worked together. They apparently worked together very closely. He either knew who they were or was also involved in the Snapdragon with them, which I'm just going to flat out say, I think that he was involved in the Snapdragon with Lauren's parents. He's got a scar in his face and we don't know what that's from. So that's already sus. And then the episode where he's in the cemetery with Lauren, he talks about his, okay, I have it written down here.
I reread it right before this.
Died. Annabelle May March. Her death date is completely covered up by the flowers.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it could be that, but it was definitely an A. So her death date is covered up by flowers. So we don't know the exact year that she died. So we can't link that at the moment to the year that the Snapdragon massacre happened or anything like that. But he says she died at the hands of criminals that have been plaguing our Dallas for far too long. So I went back and reread that line again, but if she died a long time ago, that would be before the Phantom Scythe were even an organization. Yeah. So I think that he's talking about the royals. The royals.
Yeah. I thought the same.
Yeah. We know that King, was it Edward? Was Edward the dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that he wasn't like a super great king and like didn't care about, cared even less than the king now for the poor people and everything like that. And then we also know that his daughter died, and his daughter would have been the same age as Lauren as she is now. And we did see her death date. And we know that what he said isn't a lie because of Lauren's lie detecting ability. It says that she died from illness and she was very young. I think 6 is what he said. And so I have a feeling that maybe because they were very poor, she had an illness and was not treated, appropriately or fast enough, or they didn't have the resources at the time at the hospital. So it's something that could have been prevented and she could have been saved. So he's already super passionate about the poor and the working conditions and the hospital conditions, on the South Shore and those for the poor people. So I think that March and his wife are part of the Snapdragon. I think that after his child died, he became extraordinarily passionate and became extremist in his views. So I think that the Sinclair started to get a little apprehensive about his suspected methods. And so they started to get a little sus. And
why would he kill them?
And so I think they started to get a little worried and maybe whispered some things in Dakan's ear or something that got round to the court. And they came in to Orion and Sons for the meetup, murdered a bunch of people, which included March's wife, which would be Annabelle, And I think that could be her letter opener with her initials.
I agree with all this except the timing part. Alexander and Rachel only became uncomfortable once the leader became extreme after Orion's son, meaning that's when the Snapdragon turned into the into 𝗵𝘂𝗿𝗃, which used terrorism.
Got it.
Which previously they had not used violence before. So
yeah, so I think with the death of his daughter, and then of course the death of his wife at the hand of royals, like he became extraordinarily violent and extremist. And
I'm right there with you, Lily. I mean, when I was doing a reread and we got to the cemetery episode, that really stood out to me.
It's like, right there. He's like, the ends justify the means. We gotta not give up the fight until you're the last one standing.
Like, we're getting a glimpse of his backstory, and I don't think the authors would just leave it as, oh, this is his tragic backstory. And in that episode too, he has a line that I wrote down that was like, he wants to restore balance in the world.
Yes.
So eerie, like eerily similar to what the organization says. Like, restore balance in the world, create a new system, a new institution.
Yes, it's like, oh my God, Emily, another Marvel reference. What's the what? The guy that he wants to get rid of 50% of the population.
Oh, Thanos?
Yes, Thanos. It was very Thanos vibes. Like, we need to do a cleansing to get rid of 50%.
And he even said, then he says too that like Lauren, or similar to Lauren, his ideals in the system that they're trying to uphold were shattered only a few years into being a police officer. So I feel like all the signs are there. And then he even says in that episode, it's just about what you want to defend with like all of your soul, the entirety of your soul. It's what you want.
And then he says, until you're the last one standing. He literally says that, and he's standing there with the sun shining, and he's holding that cane or umbrella thing or whatever. And I'm just thinking, oh, this guy is the fucking leader. Oh my God.
I think it's Oliver March.
I think so too. But I'm curious though, because in this episode where he says, like, I know both sides of being poor and the nobility so well, like we know that March isn't nobility that we know of. Like, he could have grown up really wealthy and we don't know that. And then decided to join, the police force, or he grew up really poor and they just are talking about like him being around nobles a whole lot. Or I possibly had a theory that Annabelle was nobility.
Okay, interesting.
I think maybe he married nobility and she was extraordinarily sympathetic. She's basically a noble that like defected, like was very sympathetic to the poor and the Snapdragon's goals and things like that. And that would make sense as to how Redcliffe got roped into these things, because if Annabelle was their connection to some nobility who were sympathetic, then we would know how we got some of those nobility into the start of the Snapdragon / Phantom Scythe. Because so far it doesn't seem like Oliver, it just doesn't seem like he's nobility. Maybe his wife had some noble connection that we know of. And if that's her freaking knife, it had a jewel on it. I mean, that's not what poor people own. And even a theory, maybe maybe her family owned Orion and Sons. Business, and that's why they met there. Who knows?
That's a good point. Yeah. Oh man.
So I just want to say about the whole theory of March being a leader. So there's a lot of things that make sense, but it sure would nullify that essay that I wrote after that cemetery episode where I contrasted March's incrementalism versus the leader's fanaticism. because what I saw March saying in that cemetery was, you do the small things, even if you can't change the whole system, you fight within the system and you just try to change things within the system, which is the opposite of what the leader is currently doing, because he just wants to overthrow the system, or at least he says he does. So that was what I thought was a big contrast between the leader and March. But
no, it's Soap and F. It's probably completely all wrong. I mean, I guarantee you I'm going to be 100% wrong by the end of it.
I don't know. It does so water.
If he's not the leader, he's an apostle. Like he's somebody.
Yeah.
He's an apostle.
That like the flowers are very purposefully hiding his wife's the year of her death.
Yes, like there's on purpose. They didn't want us to know that. And the line that was very vague, it almost seems like he knows about Lauren's lie detecting ability too, which because we never ever hear a lie from him. The phrases that he says, like now that I've gone back and done rereads, and especially the last episode where he says things like, oh, I couldn't believe you were in a car accident, you know, you have people to cover, like it's just it's us.
Oh, completely agree.
I don't know. So all the time I'm just like, March is such a nice, honest person. I don't know. I don't know. I'm too like I can't have these like super nice characters be like bad people.
I don't know. I think it's like his trauma might have warped him the other way to, you know, making the Snapdragon not as pacifist in their work.
Yeah.
I think if it is him, he started out with fabulous intentions, and the death of his wife.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you think it was the Sinclairs 100% that ratted?
No, I don't think so. Because I think that they were uncomfortable afterwards. If I remember the timeline correctly, the leader became radicalized because of Orion and Sons, and that's when they started getting uncomfortable. They're like, no, we don't want to do terrorism. So before then, they had not been violent.
I mean,
I have another theory.
Is it possible that his wife died in the shop? That maybe she was part of the people who were massacred in the shop by the royals.
Well, that's what I think. That's what I think. That's why the letter opener. I think that's the letter opener or whatever. I think she tried to defend herself, like just with that, you know, which would make sense if she like worked there or owned it or you know something like that. But I also have a theory that perhaps Dylan's dad, Mr. Rosenthal, was also involved in the Snapdragon. And maybe,
that's a popular theory.
Maybe
I always wondered, Dylan's
no,
dad
not that I think that he's the leader, but I think maybe he was the one to betray.
That would be
because we never see his grave at the cemetery. We don't see him like physically die in the Allen train station. So like he's this super ambiguous figure that we're just kind of like we don't know. It's never talked about. We don't know if he's dead or not.
So when March and her parents were friends, he was already in the academy, right?
Who?
Or March, was he already like a police officer when he was?
Yeah, because he worked with them on cases. He was already
yeah.
a detective, so they were lawyers, and he worked with them closely on cases. So like he knew Lauren very well growing up.
Wasn't there a scene? I think it was the New Year's Eve party when Will's dad makes the comment, like lying to Lauren that her parents were exemplary people, sort of alluding to him knowing maybe about their action or their participation in the Snapdragon. Yeah. So could March count that? I don't know, like count that as a betrayal? Like it's someone he worked with, because that was his former. He was the former like chief of police, right? And probably March worked with him. I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because I don't know if they would necessarily be friends because Will's dad is a lot. But maybe he would consider that
is not sympathetic to the poor.
No, not at all. But I don't know. So I mean, because we know that Will's dad knew about her parents and their actions, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like how he would factor into that, or maybe he was at the print shop, like doing the massacre. I don't know.
maybe he had to lead it.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I think maybe what if he had to lead the massacre and he saw the Sinclairs and let them go?
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Oh my God.
Good one.
That's a good one.
What if he saw them and was like, oh shit, I know, like, because he knew Lauren and Lauren grew up with Will, and he's like, we
don't know how he factors into all of this besides that he doesn't sympathize with Snapdragon
well, that's why I don't think he's in the Phantom Scythe. Like, I mean, unless he's the world's greatest actor, like
he's very much
why would he lie and act like that in front of Will? And I just don't see it happening. I see him. I don't sympathetic to the poor or anything, but I could see him being the one to lead.
That would be drama.
Massacre and and letting them go, and then being like, oh shit, I know what activities you're involved with. You're on thin ice because you guys are basically traitors to the royal family.
Oh, that's good.
But I also had this theory, like, okay, so what if Mr. Rosenthal was involved and he was the one to basically be the snitch and the betrayer.
By the way, should we just like finish the last 2 panels?
Oh my gosh, I even forgot.
Oh, there are two.
That's how long these episodes are. Okay, well, let's finish that. So they're walking through and they open this really like kind of ornate door. It looks kind of gold plated, and they say, "We arrived." And the fourth says, "What did you want to show me?" And then you see the whole map of Ardalis with a bunch of red X's all over the top portion of the city. So the city's divided by a river, and it looks like it's X'd out in portions, and 9, 10, not the 11th, the 1st. And then it also looks like by the, I think the castle says royal.
Yeah, royal.
It's like, yeah. And then it says the updated plan, and then it's
it's some kind of terrorism plan, because the south side is left out of it, and that's the poor district. So it's
I was
like,
about to ask, like, are these the wealthy neighborhoods only getting?
Yeah,
that's
also
what I feel.
Was across the river, I remember.
Yeah. So I think it's like the South Shore and the poor districts are obviously left out, and then conveniently the 11th district is left out.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the 11th district left
Well,
out?
maybe
A lot of rich people there.
Cares about is there?
Maybe because he works in the precinct. He doesn't want to blow up his place of work.
He doesn't want any mistakes.
That's
us.
So-
My heart is hurting so much, by the way, just at the thought of March. But anyway, whatever. Well, just know that I am in pain.
entirely possible. I just feel like the leader has to be somebody we know, because I feel like it would, like, it's just, okay, I'll just throw it out there. It's not going to be a good story if it's somebody we don't, right? If it's an entirely new character, then the story holds no weight as to who the leader is.
Like the twist it would be if it were March, I think it would just be really good, because then if you do a reread, you're like, all the signs were
All
there.
the signs, yeah, exactly. It makes you wanna, you do the read through and you're like, oh, I hate Herman, it's Herman. Oh, I hate Stefan, it's Stefan. I hate so and so, but you're like, oh, March, little boo boo, he's so sweet. And once you start theorizing, you go, oh, this man is sus. There's other stuff going on there. And yeah, so that's my number one. We could also get thrown for a loop, but like, I feel like we can probably cross out Dakin and Tristan as the leader. Like, maybe not 100%, but after the beginning of this season, I'm just,
I think
that would hurt my heart more than March any day. If it was like, if it's Tristan, I'm done. I'm done with Sophonef. If it's Tristan, like, I can't.
If they're still in the running, but March is absolutely my number one.
I just feel like Tristan doesn't have the time, like physically the time to do it. I just
doesn't sleep. No, we know
doesn't sleep. Maybe because he doesn't sleep. I mean, it could be. I don't know. But I mean, it's also like, if it was one of them, it would make sense as to why they're looking out for Lauren. Protected.
Or they could be like in the apostles, maybe. If they're not,
or they could be. Well, I feel like Dakin is also suspicious. I mean, there was that lie, like on the New Year's Eve party, and Tristan says, "Does anybody know the leader's plans or something?" And he said, and it was a lie, and he said, "Nobody knows."
Oh, right.
Remember that? And it was a red and
yes.
I mean,
best episode ever.
Could be an apostle, I don't know.
So there's something going on there. I don't know, you guys, even though it didn't have her baby Kieran, it was still a great episode. I know I said that I wouldn't do the episode if Kieran wasn't in it, but I'm glad I did.
At least there was the mention of him.
There was the mention,
but it wasn't positive.
Yes, him.
It wasn't a positive mention, but it was a mention.
It wasn't mentioned.
I think that Lily, you were in the middle of saying something before we finished the last 2 panels. You were going on another theory or something.
Oh, no. It's just a brief theory, but basically, like, I'm trying to really hard to loop in how Dylan's dad could be involved in all of this, because I just think it's suspicious that we haven't seen a grave or really like had any mention of him so far. And it seems like with Dylan being so involved in the family and so close, I'm like, no, they have to all be involved somehow. He was in the Snapdragon or something, especially because the Snapdragon is a flower. So like, you know,
which I have in my backyard, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. I'm like, maybe he helps come up with the name. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So like, it would make sense if he helps come up with the name because he's the flower guy.
Mhm.
I never connected that, but that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, right. And so I'm like, okay, and like obviously he was like a poor gardener, like he would be sympathetic to the needs of the poor. And
he
so
could have been their ears on the street, maybe for
or something,
or maybe a little higher up.
So I still think that, I don't know, I still think that possibly Lauren might have been one of the kids that was supposed to be a kid, like one of the car kids. And so I think that it was Dylan. I think Dylan was meant to be one of the car kids, but instead of Lauren, because she got, left behind and she wasn't supposed to be because she hurt her foot. What if Dylan was with Kieran and that's how Kieran ended up? They ran into each other and that's how Kieran ended up being one of the car kids.
Yeah. Wait, I do have one thing to say against the idea of Mr. Rosenthal being aware of the train attack, at least, because he tells the kids, he's like, oh, after the ceremony, we'll get like cake or something at a bakery. And it's not a lie. So
not a lie. That's the only part. Like I feel like everything else kind of lines up, but that one part that wasn't a lie. I mean, unless he meant like
after the ceremony.
The ceremony didn't happen. He knew the ceremony wasn't going to happen. So I guess he meant, I don't know. How do the details of lie detecting work? If you know the ceremony isn't going to happen because there's going to be a massive explosion, is it a lie?
Well, did the ceremony, maybe they're in the middle of the ceremony or like before
I think they were going to start it or they were in the middle of it because that's what happened and the king died.
About to start because the king was in the center, right? Or he was, I don't know, he was at the train station, right?
Yeah.
Still,
unless they faked the king's death, then he's actually
he's the leader.
Interesting.
I don't like that.
That would be such a cool twist.
I mean, that would be a cool twist considering we haven't even seen what the man looks like. I mean, that's my only theory that I would be okay with for somebody who's the leader that we don't know who they are.
Right. This person.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
That would be. Okay, well,
I wouldn't put it like anything past the authors.
That would be wild. But yeah, that's my 4,000 theories for the day. My brain has officially run out. Every episode, every single episode, my brain hurts.
I need to make like a character map and how everyone relates to one another.
I need my own murder board.
I
need my own murder board.
Lauren, help us. We need our own murder boards.
Seriously.
That should sell like the starter pack. Actually, all we need to do is go to the recaps they have, season 1.
Oh yeah, totally.
It over, adding more details.
Well, I think it was in this recap that they accidentally gave away the is officially
and the slip up where they had in the memory where Lauren is with Dylan on the docks, where originally the illustration was just a bunch of black like shadows and then it was like one boy drawing and then a little bit later they fixed it
and then they added people and then
it's like we saw it
we know
more attention to it now.
I know now that everybody's talking about everybody in the comments. I mean, any person that reads it can go and read that. We see you, so we know what you're doing.
But well, this is confirmation. It's delightful. So many threads and paths and ways that this could pan out.
Well, what do you guys think is going to happen in the next episode? Like, what characters do you think we're going to switch to or
maybe the Mirage Opera House, I think, or Sam.
Maybe like the setup of the play, maybe like some background action on that.
Oh, I hope so. I'm so fascinated by this Miss Green character.
Or like Lauren going home and like having that massive headache.
That's every episode.
Lauren finally rests.
It's more than
woman just needs to take some Excedrin and take a nap. Like
take like a warm, like our hot bath, light some candles, and then go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna make some inappropriate comments about Kieran helping her, but okay.
Yeah, got you. Perfect comments. Help her.
Too.
That's it, right? She's like fainting, basically. I mean, and like hot water.
I mean, he's already undressed her, so
yeah,
exactly. Like, no shame.
He's already slept in his bed, even though he wasn't in the bed. But she already
guys, how incredible would that be for some flirting? Like, I know it's not gonna happen, but for Lauren to be like, "Do you want to help me undress since you've already seen me and it's no big deal?" And him just getting like so red and embarrassed.
Yeah.
And
Never gonna say
flustered,
that.
and calling him out on it, that would just be, I would die.
She would,
Somebody
she
write
would
this
die
down.
before she said that though.
I
Lauren
mean,
would
she
die.
would. I don't think Lauren, I mean, we saw her play like acting with was it 𝗵𝗻𝗃? Not 𝗵𝗻𝗃. Who was it?
Oh, when they were dancing?
Yes.
To like seduce him?
Yes.
Okay.
She was good at acting. She did that
Okay.
pretty well.
She was like, hey,
Fine. Okay.
maybe she'll find her way to Kieran's apartment next episode.
Or the cave.
Also good.
Or the cave.
Listen, she's fainting. She has to go home, and maybe his apartment is closer than hers.
Yeah, she wants one of his shirts.
He wants that soft bed.
That magically grew to fit to it. We can only hope.
I like how this is like a very sad and scary episode, and we just end it with
We just end up.
We're still ending it on
always
like
ends up
thirsting for Kieran.
thirsting the simpery. We just want more. I know we have been blessed with the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 content, but I need more. I need more.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm gonna look back at this hug and just that's gonna be my emotional satisfaction for this episode. Just
The hug, the platonic touch. That's nice.
Yeah, the platonic hug. Yeah, if we can't get 𝗏𝗏𝗏, we can at least get a platonic hug. Yes, until next Wednesday.
All right. Well, with that, I think we can end it so we can go meal. And it was lovely talking. This was great. So many awesome theories and fun stuff.
Yes,
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. It was so fun to talk about PH finally with you guys.
I know, our first PH episode.
I know. Yeah. Well, anybody listening, we've done. Normally, we're on MPL. We've done that a couple of times, and if you want some real debauchery, just go over to them.
To those. Even when those episodes are serious, it's still thirsty.
Oh, it's just a thirst trap for an hour. Yeah.
Yes, it's a little embarrassing. But my daughter, by the way, we were talking with my daughter about YouTube things that she's not allowed to watch because we're it's inappropriate. And you know what she put on the list? She put the Story Tinker podcast. And Mommy, you talking about inappropriate things. And I was like, wow.
Oh, talking about how this is inappropriate?
When did she
Yeah.
put on the spot?
She knows. She reads Let's Play, by the way, and she read it. She's like, Mommy, what's porn? So yeah,
That's a little racy. Ooh.
right. And it's it's not inappropriate. It's just for adults.
It's
It's for
mature.
adults.
Yeah.
It's not inappropriate. It's just for adults. It's adult life. That's
fun.
hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Smart girl. She knows. I mean, it is inappropriate.
She is.
But it's
Amazing.
amazing. It's
She was also trying to get back at me because I was restricting what she could watch. So she was making fun of me.
So she put your podcast on the show list.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
Hey, but
She's
you're
a-
a cool
she's a
mom.
smart
You're a
one.
cool mom with a dirty podcast. My mom would definitely know.
I don't know. I think that's so fun. I embrace all the smut. I don't think it's embarrassing. Just embrace it.
No,
No,
100%.
it's human
No,
nature.
I'll be at work reading a book on my break, and my coworkers are like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "Fairy smut."
Nice.
Very,
Exactly.
very open with the fairy smut. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't care. I'm a grown ass woman. I do what I want.
You're
Yeah.
like, I'm reading female gazy erotica. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Compared
Yeah.
to all the other crap I could be reading, this
Mhm.
is female empowerment. Like,
Just
about
human
what-
beings living their life.
yeah, living their life. Everything is consensual.
Yep. Well, it is awesome, but I know we all have to get to bed because, as
I
we
know,
discussed
it's
previously, we are old ladies.
Oh,
So
oh yeah, you guys over
I
there.
didn't even realize.
An hour ahead.
yes,
Awesome. So nice to chat with you guys again.
yes,
Yeah.
it was great.
Thank
Okay,
you
next
very
time
much.
let's do an episode with Kieran.
Woo.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Mindy.
Awesome. Good
Thank you,
night.
Mindy.
Thank you so much to my current patrons, Susie, Lady Libras, Lily, Jenny, Haley, Molly, Veronica, Emily, Joe, Rochelle, Saucy Tacos, Meg, Anne Rose, Priya, Alexa, Misty, Joanne, Hattie, Imelda, Esther, I'm watching you people, Tori's Papa, Steve, Marie, Emily, Jane, Judd, Erin, Kay, Lily, Beckett, Miranda, Christine, Sadie, Kelly, Danielle, Teresa, Mrs. Castaldo, and Carrie. Your support is truly appreciated.